Good morning. It is Wednesday, May 26, 2021. Let it be known we are one day closer to the National Newspaper Publicists Association's annual convention, which will be virtual this year. But first, before we get into the headlines this morning and talk more about the convention, let us bring on the NNPA's president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis. Good morning, Dr. Chavis.
Good morning, Tracy. On behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, NNPA, representing 230 African-American owned newspapers and media companies across the country. Our chair is Karen Carter Richards, distinguished publisher of the Forward Times in Houston, Texas, and all of our board of directors. We just want to give everybody greetings and ready to get into this edition of Let It Be Known.
Absolutely, Dr. Chavis. Got a little twist for our producer this morning. I'm going to start with Kristen Clark. The Senate voted 51-48 on Tuesday to confirm civil rights attorney Kristen Clark to lead the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. The confirmation makes Kristen Clark the first Black woman confirmed by the Senate to lead the division. The arm is responsible for enforcing federal statutes prohibiting discrimination based on race, color, and sex. Republicans, of course, opposed the nomination, but Kristen Clark won confirmation because Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer used the chamber's discharge petition to move her candidacy forward and move it to a vote. So Kristen Clark, congratulations. She is going to lead the Justice Department Civil Rights Division. Dr. Chavis, it's a win-win for all.
Absolutely, and I'm glad to report that Attorney Kristen Clark is a friend of the Black press. We've done a number of things with her over the years when she was with the Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights and other civil rights organizations. So she's a champion. She not only has the title now for the Civil Rights Division of the U.S. Justice Department, but she brings a history, she brings a legacy, she brings a commitment. She's well experienced. So I think for a long time, under the last administration, the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department did very little. Now that's going to change with this dynamic African-American woman attorney with so much experience in civil rights, being head of the Justice Department Civil Rights Division. This is going to be a plus. So once again, the Biden-Harris administration, they are keeping their promises that they made to Black America.
Yeah, they certainly are, Dr. Chavis. You're 100% right. And the family of George Floyd visited Capitol Hill and the White House on Tuesday. It was the anniversary of their loved one's death at the hands of Minneapolis police. Congresswoman Karen Bass vowed that the long-delayed George Floyd Justice and Policing Act would eventually become law. She said, "I stand here to renew the commitment that we will get this bill on the president's desk." She also said, "We will get this bill on the desk. And what is important is that when it reaches the president, it is a substantive piece of legislation." The U.S. House passed the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act in March, but the bill has stalled in the evenly divided Senate. The measure would prohibit federal, state, and law enforcement from racial, religious, and discriminatory profiling. It also requires that all law enforcement officers receive training on racial, religious, and discrimination practices. If passed, the bill would ban chokeholds, no-knock warrants at the federal level, and it also mandates the use of dashboard cameras and body cameras for federal officers and establishes a national police misconduct registry to prevent officers who commit violations from serving in other precincts and police departments. It would also strip police officers of qualified immunity, allowing for victims to sue police individually. So, Dr. Chavis, that bill is still being haggled over in the Senate. It's an important bill.
Well, I think the Democrats, as well as the president, will do what they just did with Attorney Clark's nomination. At some point, you try to compromise, you try to reach across the aisle, but then if that's not possible, they have the votes. Democrats have the votes. But Senator Romney announced that he probably will vote for it. So I think that what Nancy Pelosi and Karen Bass stated yesterday to the family of George Floyd, they predicted that this law will become law this year. It's just a matter now of negotiations.
Yeah, absolutely. We were expecting our guest this morning, Remi Adeleke. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, Dr. Chavis. Apparently, there has been some problems. He was at an airport, and there's some issues there, so we may not have him this morning. But we continue on, Dr. Chavis, by saying good morning to our chair who's watching, Karen Carter Richards. Good morning to Cheryl Smith, who's also in Texas, and she's watching from the Texas Metro News. Michelle Madison, Joni King, and Rosa Allen is also watching, as well as Lynn Spivey, Michelle Madison, as I mentioned, Joni King. We really appreciate you guys and everybody else who's watching. Dr. Chavis also in the news. 1 year after George Floyd was murdered by a police officer in Minneapolis, the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice and the ACLU released to record and protect a policy brief arguing for the Attorney General to establish a First Amendment policing policy to reaffirm the rights of community members who record police encounters. George Floyd, Eric Garner, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, Alton Sterling. We know these names because concerned bystanders bravely recorded tragic acts of police violence. How many more names do we not know? And how many stories we will not hear simply because no one was there to record the group? They asked that question in the brief that they filed. Videos and recordings of police encounters can be critical tools in documenting abuse and holding law enforcement accountable. So they're taking some moves, making some moves, Dr. Chavis, in New Jersey as well, to try and stem this horrible, horrible pandemic of police brutality against African Americans.
Absolutely. And I think what is happening in New Jersey should happen in all the states. First, the federal government needs to go ahead and pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act at the federal level. Then at the state level, you have to also have companion bills that put the brakes on, that prevent police officers at the state level and at the local level from engaging in racial profiling, from doing chokeholds and all the other things, and also giving citizens the right to take videos. We would not be where we are today if it were not for that 17-year-old sister in Minneapolis taking that video. And so I think that there is action at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level, because this is a pandemic as well, systemic racism that leads to the untimely and unwarranted death and destruction of brothers and sisters in our community. So it has to be put to a stop. And we in the Black press, but say I just want to give a shout out to all the Black women who are at the front lines of the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm so proud of the Black women publishers in the NMPA. Our chair and our whole executive committee are all Black women. And you mentioned Cheryl Smith. She's the president of Region 4, one of the largest regions of the Black press of America. Cheryl is down in Dallas, Texas. We thank her for coming on this morning. And to all the publishers to whom regularly come on, let it be known. So the Black press is alive and well, moving forward, as well as these police brutality legislation, public policies at both the federal, state, and local level. The Black press, we're not only reporting this news, but we're also advocating for freedom, justice, and equality and an end to racially motivated police brutality.
Yeah, absolutely. Bobby Henry is watching as usual. We always so glad to see Bobby. Bobby, you know we're looking for some words of wisdom from you, Bobby. So I'm checking the activity over there. So send us something good, Bobby's. President Joe Biden also plans to travel to Oklahoma to help commemorate the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. White House officials said the president would visit Tulsa on June 1st to mark the centennial of the massacre in the Greenwood district, which many know as Black Wall Street. Beginning Wednesday, May 26th, today, a series of events are planned, including the Remember and Rise event produced by the Tulsa Race Massacre Commission and featuring John Legend and Stacey Abrams. Remember and Rise honors several distinguished guests, including survivors and descendants of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. According to reports from what happened in 1921, an armed white mob attacked Greenwood a prosperous Black community in Tulsa, killing as many as 300 people. What was known as Black Wall Street was burned to the ground. So another anniversary that we commemorate, Dr. Chavis.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we do in the Black press, for decades since the massacre at Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. The Black press, we've covered this issue. Mainstream press has given it very little attention. And with the president of the United States now going to Oklahoma to commemorate what happened years ago, I think that's very appropriate. And it shows you the importance of the Black press keeping these stories alive. The truth of the matter is there have been many race massacres in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in Wilmington, North Carolina, in Illinois, in Missouri, in Mississippi, in Alabama. There's just a long list. There's a long list of lynchings. There's a long list of mass murders. There's a long list of racially motivated police murders of Black people. So we have to call out all these contradictions. And even when we have these anniversaries, these are reaffirmations of our determination, our commitment not to rest, not to relent until every child, every man, every woman, every family in our community is treated fairly, equity, with equity and empowerment.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say good morning to Lon Haber. Lon actually is the assistant publicist, or I'm not sure Lon's title, but he works with our guest that was supposed to be on this morning, but he had some issues at the airport. And Lon, I just want you to know that the last time we had a guest last year that was not able to come on, his manager, we forced his manager on live to sit in the hot seat. So you're hiding out, Lon. We'll see you soon. Good morning to Valerie Fields Hill and Kate Cavendish. Thank you for watching this morning. But we do have another guest this morning. He is Anthony Tillman, a photographer extraordinaire, and he's also got a new book. So let's welcome Anthony Tillman. Hey, Anthony.
How you doing? Good morning.
Brother Anthony, thank you. And thank you for all your work. You're a great photographer, and we're excited about your book.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. Good morning to you guys.
Yeah. So, Anthony, tell us about the book, Anthony.
Well, the book is called I Want a Cheetah as a Pet. So it's my new children's book. One of my favorite animals in the world is a cheetah. So I decided to create this children's book to share my love for animals and cheetahs. So it's about a little boy who wants a cheetah as a pet, but his mom knows that it's a wild animal, so she takes him to the zoo to learn more about it. So it's a great book for children of all ages to just learn about the cheetah and the types of animals that out there in the zoo.
Wow. So what inspires you to do that, Anthony? Because you are into a lot of things, Anthony. You have you do your photography, but you do such a phenomenal job with that. You also help music artists with production and other things. And now you've written a children's book. What inspired you to do this?
Well, it's actually my second children's book. So my first children's book was actually called Bull the Bully. It was talking about bullying. As you know, I'm in education. I run a nonprofit called Make Smart Cool, which is my shirt. So it's about education for our youth. So I decided to just create another children's book because I really want our youth to read more. Reading is fundamental. So it's important that we continue to teach our children that being smart is cool. And reading is important to your mind. So, the cheetah is my favorite animal of all time. So I've been researching cheetahs for a long time. And I felt that this book will actually help other people just, learn more about the cheetah and ways to protect it.
Yeah, I want to say also good morning. I acknowledge Valerie Fields Hill, but I didn't say that she is the news editor, Dr. Chavis, for the Texas Metro News. So she is watching us. And Kate Cavendish says, it's refreshing to hear some real news. Rosa Allen says awesome, and T.D. Sanders from the Omaha Star newspaper.
Yes.
Is watching, and James Wright from the Washington Informer is watching. It's great to have family in the house today, Dr. Chavis.
Absolutely, and a special shout out to the Omaha Star. It's one of the oldest African American newspapers in the country. The Omaha Star was at the founding in 1940 of the NNPA, and Sister Sanders, she's been to meet with us here in Washington. We're so glad that she's the publisher now of the Omaha Star. And, I just want to say, because we're so proud, she is also the distinguished mother of Simone Sanders, who works now in the White House with the Vice President of the United States, who helped the Biden-Harris administration become the Biden-Harris administration. So shout out to, we got such a diversity. Again, remember, I tell you about these dynamic Black women that are leading the Black press from the Midwest, from the Southeast, from the Southwest, from the east to the west, the north to south, the whole country. I'm so proud of the leadership of the NNPA by these dynamic, strong Black women.
And Enchanta, our producer, I know you're probably thinking like I am thinking, that Dr. Chavis is really proud, because you could see the expression. It is so good to see him happy to see what our publishers are doing, especially our Black women publishers. No slight to you, Bobby Henry. But you are doing great down in Fort Lauderdale as well. Anthony, let's get back to you. Anthony, so you're doing a lot of writing. You also do a column as well for the Medium, I think. Tell us a little bit about that.
So pretty much I cover, pretty much write about issues that affect us today. I've definitely, as you know, I do photography for the Washington Informer and, of course, for the Black press. But, I kind of wanted to just get more into my creative side and just do a little more writing on issues that matter to us. And, I think it's important that, we express our opinions and let people understand where we're coming from, as far as, especially as African Americans in journalism. We do not get the credit that we deserve. And I talk about this a lot, but it's time that Black press matters. It's time for us to get, Black press relevant in today's society. And, Dr. Chavis just said that we have so many powerful women running this country. It's time for us to get everybody involved in the Black press and how we have a voice in society today.
Yeah, Anthony, I know you are a major advocate of the Black press. I know that your Twitter feed, which you have social media, you have a tremendous amount of followers, and you push the narrative. In fact, I want to say that it was in part your effort that helped the Washington Informer get over 10,000 followers. You talk about Make Smart Cool, and that's a foundation that you started, a nonprofit you started. Tell us more about that.
So in about 2013, I started a movement. It was called Make Smart Cool. We actually started with the t-shirt that I have on. It was kind of like a movement to support education for the youth. Of course, I went to Howard University, but, I had like a lot of issues with tuition and I couldn't really afford it. So I had to kind of leave and then come back. So I just didn't really want a lot of children to have the same situation as I did, as far as financing and learning and furthering education. So I started Make Smart Cool as a way to support education for the youth and help kids, get into that college or that trade that they want to. And the best part about Make Smart Cool is we do school supplies year round, and we also give scholarships to students and teachers. So we gave over $5,000 for scholarships to students and teachers in the past 8 years. And it's actually April was actually our 8-year anniversary.
Wow. And expand on that a little bit, Anthony. On the teacher side, the scholarships, why the teachers?
Because teachers they want to further their education as well. It's important that we support our teachers more, because their education matters as well. A lot of teachers, they're multitasking. They're actually teaching and they're going to school as well. So we wanted to kind of help them further their education as well, because teachers, they have to do more, and they have more requirements to teach different subjects and trades.
Yeah, and Anthony, I want to go back to your photography. You were down at the Capitol on January 6th. You took some phenomenal photos. What was that like as a African American photographer, especially representing the Black press? What was that like? What was the feeling when those individuals swarmed the Capitol? You were right there. What was going through your mind as you were there doing a job?
It was, like I said, it was just it was actually shocking, what I'm saying, because as a person who live in DC, I never been that close to the Capitol. It's uninvited, so people, we always hear rumors about the Capitol Police and how aggressive they are towards anybody. So as I was down there, and and I actually followed a group that said they was going to the Capitol, and my whole mindset, I was literally thinking, like, these folks are crazy, like they're not going to the Capitol. And then as they entered farther, it was just mind-blowing that this even was happening. So it was just crazy to document and just kind of photograph that day, because it was just so like shocking for all of us, because we didn't imagine anything like that can ever happen. And the vulnerability of our government is what we really need to pay attention more, because you never know what people are thinking, and that and we need to do more to protect ourselves and others, as far as working in one of the biggest cities in the nation. You know what I'm saying? We know DC is the nation's capital. So, we have to do more to just stop the violence, and improve more, and focus more on, protecting our youth and our brothers and sisters.
Yeah, Anthony, you covered a lot of Black Lives Matter demonstrations, and we've heard the Republicans, the Trump folks talk about trying to compare the demonstrations of Black Lives Matter to what happened at the Capitol. We know that is as far-fetched as you can get, but you've been at both. You was at the Capitol. You've been to a number of Black Lives Matter demonstrations. Real quick, Anthony, remind us the difference.
The biggest difference is we still do not have equality. You know what I'm saying? The black people do not have the same rights and equality as our counterparts. And I know we keep saying this, but we're never going to be equal until we are an equal partner in decision making in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're still protesting for equality 400 plus years after slavery. So what I'm saying, it's definitely nothing changing going on right now, and a couple buildings and a couple a couple protests is not stopping that change. And we got people that's in the Capitol right now, and that's in the government that's working, but they're not working fast enough. We need equality. We need to cancel student debt. You know what I'm saying? Student debt is the biggest thing right now. When kids go to college, they should be able to go and get a quality education without worrying about being homeless or being in debt as soon as they graduate college. You know what I'm saying? We need to focus more on issues that matter to all of us and study to certain people. And I think that's the biggest problem that we have today, is everyone wants to help African Americans, but they're not helping African Americans. They're helping everyone else first, and then they're helping us. We need to help us. Our issues matter to everybody. Black lives matter before everyone else's at this point. You know what I'm saying? We need to really focus on us right now too.
And Dr. Chavis, I know you talked about equity. I want to go to you for your closing thoughts and talk about that, if you will, as well.
Well, thank you. And again, we want to thank Anthony for his leadership. Anthony, I also, and Stacy mentioned again the importance of his children's books. This is his second children's book. And as you know, Anthony, there's a wide disparity of the third grade reading test. Some states use the failure of African Americans to pass the third grade reading test to determine how many juvenile institutions, how many juvenile prisons are going to be built. So we need to put more emphasis on getting our young people to read in the pre-K, first grade, second grade. So by the time you get to the third grade, and one of the functions of reading is the books that we read. So you're now joining a chorus of increasing authors that are writing children's books. So we salute you for that, Anthony. And the question of equity, and we'll close on this. There's a lot of discussion now, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. Corporate America is battling with it, as well as a lot of state legislatures, local municipalities, as well as the federal government. The Black press, one of the reasons why we have the Black press is because of all of the inequities, because of all of the inequalities and the disparities that you have listed, Anthony. But the thing is, the good news is, I remember the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, another dynamic Black woman. She said, "I'm sick or tired of being sick and tired." And African Americans in 2021 are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so this is a year of transition. But it's not only for others to help us, and I'll close on this point, Anthony and Stacy, it's for us to help ourselves. Certainly we need the support of all of the various governmental agencies to get more equity, but we also have to empower ourselves. And I think a lot of times we should not just be in a position where we're dependent, our empowerment is dependent on someone outside of our community. We are blessed people. We have a lot of resources that we need to pull our resources, pull our talents, pull our energies, and begin to make progress. That's why the Black press for 194 years is still alive. We've taken what we have and spread it, and taken what we have and extended to our extended families, our extended communities, and we will continue on this path. So what we want to do is to make sure that we have power, that we have economic power, that we have cultural power, that we have entrepreneurial power, making our businesses stronger. And so we all work together. I think every brother and sister who's listening to the program this morning, we all have a role to play. And I'm very proud that the Black press is out there continuing to report these the news, and continue to lift up our success stories. In my view, there's too much focus on the tragedies without having a balanced focus on how we are overcoming the tragedies, how we are making success, not only striving for excellence, but attaining excellence in every category of life, not only in America, but throughout the world. So God bless. You're right, Anthony. Black press matters. Black lives matters. Black people matter.
Yeah, and Dr. Chavis, 194 years. You're absolutely right. And thanks to you, thanks to Karen Carter Richards, our chair, the executive committee, our executive administrator, Claudette Perry, the Black press is thriving despite all the setbacks and a global pandemic. Don't forget, it's not too early to register for the National Newspaper Publishers Association's annual summer convention. It's free. www.virtualnmpa2021.com. Again, it's virtualnmpa2021.com. Please register today to learn more about what the Black press has to offer. Let it be known, a wise person once said, "Adversity introduces a man to himself." We will see you tomorrow.